Hey everybody, I'm Chef Tom with allthingsbbq.com, and this is Barbecue Shrimp and Grits. Well, we don't ever really need an excuse to cook up some shrimp and grits, but with Mardi Gras right around the corner, now's the perfect time to tackle this recipe. Now, down in Louisiana, there's a recipe they call barbecue shrimp and grits. It consists of shrimp that have been kind of seared in a skillet. They're eventually sort of braised. Usually there's Worcestershire sauce involved. Oftentimes there's lemon involved. It can be a little bit misleading because there's no actual grilling or barbecuing going on. But the sauce is what really makes that barbecue shrimp and grits dish. So we're gonna take some cues from that Louisiana dish, but of course, it's hard to keep me off the grill, so we're gonna be grilling up our shrimp today as well. So out of the three components for this dish, the shrimp, the sauce, and the grits are gonna take the longest, so we're gonna start on those first. So the first thing we need to do for the grits here is get some water, bring it up to a boil. We're gonna start with 6 cups of water. Now once your water comes up to a boil, you wanna whisk in your grits. And today we're gonna be using some coarse ground yellow grits. You wanna slowly add these in while whisking so you don't get any clumps. And keep that heat on high so we can keep the temperature up. So just a little under 2 cups of grits there. And we're gonna bring this back up to a simmer. Now you'll find both yellow grits and white grits out there. But the really important thing today is that you don't want instant grits for this recipe. You want coarse ground grits so that they take some time to really cook and they don't just melt and turn into mush immediately. We want something with a little bit of texture to it. All right, so once we've got the bubbles happening now, we're gonna reduce the heat down to like medium low here. And we're gonna give this some time for those grits to soak in the liquid. So this is the cooking process here. It should really start to thicken up. Now while the grits are getting tender, we're also gonna warm up the liquid that we're gonna finish our grits with. So here I have 1 cup of heavy cream and 1 cup of chicken stock just to add a little extra flavor. And I'm gonna throw these on the grill just to be warm so we're not putting cold liquid into our grits. Now the grill is preheated to 450 because that's where we'll be grilling later. We're just gonna set this off to indirect side of the grill over here and let it warm up. All right, well, it's been about 12 minutes over low heat now, just gently bubbling away here. Gonna taste this for tenderness. Pretty good. Just a touch of bite left to it, but I kind of like that. And this is gonna sit for a while we grill the shrimp and make the sauce, so that's fine. From here, you can see how much it's thickened up. We wanna add those warm liquids. We'll pour our cream and chicken stock right in there. And gently start to whisk that in. And this extra liquid's gonna help finish soften up the grits as well. Now, but of course, at this point, we really haven't added any flavor, any salt. So to kind of finish this off, we've got a couple of cheeses to add to the grits. Just want to make sure that this is plenty hot so that the cheeses actually melt once we dump those in there. So we'll wait to see some bubbles come up through the surface. There we go. We got some bubbles forming. That consistency is already starting to look like some proper grits. So we're going to get in here about 4 ounces of smoked cheddar. Add about half that, make sure it gets melted in there, and then add the rest. Then we've got about 2 ounces here of really fine Parmesan. Just melt that right in there as well. We're gonna hit it with just a dash of our hot sauce. That little vinegar bite. At the same time, we're gonna throw in 2 ounces of unsalted butter. So now we're getting creamy. And all that's left to do once all that butter and cheese and everything are melted in there, give it a little taste, see if we need to add some salt. Oh man, that is creamy and delicious, but does need a touch of salt. So we'll go in with our Noble Hickory Smoked Salt. Not too much. Start gentle. We can always add more later. You're never going to be able to take it back. All right, so now I'm going to cut the heat on this completely. I'm going to stick a lid on it to keep it warm because it's pretty cold out here, and we'll move on. So I got about a pound of extra large shrimp here. They've still got the shells on. Now a lot of times with the barbecue shrimp and grits, they're gonna cook them with the shells on to add that extra flavor to the sauce that you're creating in the pan. Today we're gonna be grilling our shrimp. So I'm gonna take the shells off. We'll leave the tails on for presentation at this time, but I'm gonna save those shells so that we can make a seafood stock. Chef Britt's got something in mind for that. But today we're looking to get some char on the outside of the shrimp, on the flesh itself. So I'm gonna remove those shells. We'll finish the shrimp in the sauce. So I've already peeled the shells off of these here. We've just got a few left. All I'm gonna do, these have been deveined, so it's really easy to just pop the shells off here. Just leave that tail intact for now. I like this, especially with grits, because this gives you something to hold on to when you dip into that grits and go ahead and take a bite. Shells themselves we'll set aside. Like I said, you can make a nice little seafood stock out of the flavor that comes off the shells. If you get in here and you notice they're not quite all the way clean, like right there, that's why it's a good idea, and I've already done it with these. Run this under some cold water when you're finished just to rinse them off. All right, so I'm just getting the extra moisture off the outside of the shrimp now, and then we're gonna thread these onto some skewers and get them seasoned up. So I love the double prong skewers for this purpose. These are the Firewire, they're metal, so they last a long time. You just clean them up after each use. But I love these because when you're flipping stuff, obviously since it's got two prongs through it, it doesn't spin on the skewer. If you have just a traditional, like a bamboo skewer or something like that, you can always double them up to make the same thing work with a bamboo skewer. So we'll leave a little bit of space so that we can get some nice color on the outside of these. We're gonna be cooking them on grill grates, so we should get some nice grill marks on the outside. All right, so about 6 or 7 to each skewer here. That looks like that's gonna be the right number. Now for the seasoning, I've got a brand new rub I'm pretty excited to have. New to me, I should say. You guys might already know about Meat Church. This is Holy Voodoo. We just got a bunch of the Meat Church rubs in, and I'm stoked on them. They're delicious. This one especially is just right for what we're doing because its roots are really in Cajun flavors. So like any other rub, you're gonna get some salt. You've got a touch of sugar in there as well, which is really nice. The jalapeno is the flavor that I really love out of here. But then your onion, your garlic. Now, not a straightforward Cajun rub by any means, but great Cajun roots on it, and I love something with a little twist. Now the shrimp are gonna cook pretty fast, so at the same time that the shrimp are grilling, I also wanna get our sauce going, and that means we need to get our mise en place for the sauce. That rhymes. Now the knife work really just includes these 3 items. We need about a ½ cup of red onion, a couple tablespoons of garlic, and a tablespoon of fresh rosemary. So I'll go ahead and break these down. All right, so we're gonna dice these down pretty fine, somewhere in between a small dice and a mince. Honestly, about 3/4 of this red onion is going to be plenty for what we need today. Want to get a good mince on the garlic. So the best way I like to break down a big clove of garlic like this, take your knife. We've got the Wusthof 8-inch chef's knife, so it's got a nice broad blade on it, and just smash it down. Then the paper's gonna peel right off of there. You've already done half of the work of breaking this down, so once you get all of these in a pile, all that paper out of there, there's not much to it, just a quick mince. The rosemary, we're just gonna strip the leaves off the stems here and mince those down nice and fine as well. So today we're grilling on the Yoder Smoker's YS640S pellet grill. We're running at 450 degrees with pecan pellets. And I've got some grill grates in place over the firebox, direct heat, so we can get a really great grill mark on the outside of the shrimp. So we've got a 2-piece diffuser, but the door is removed. So that's how we have that direct heat. You can see the flame coming up just under the grill grates here. Also, the baffle is pushed entirely in to really trap that air in that area. I'm gonna hit the surface here with just a little bit of duck fat to prevent some sticking. And then we're gonna cook with the door open because these shrimp are so small, they're gonna go real fast, and we wanna make sure we get some color on the outside before they get overcooked. Remember, we wanna throw these into the sauce to finish. So getting started on the sauce here, we're gonna put a little bit of our chili infused oil down in the Lodge 12-inch skillet. You can use any kind of oil really, but this is gonna add so much more flavor with the chili and onion and garlic in there. Medium heat here. We're gonna come in with our red onions. So we don't want it smoking hot. Gonna start to render these translucent, maybe get a little bit of color on them. All right, these are gonna take a few minutes to get translucent there, so let's go check on our shrimp. All right, so we're getting a little char, a little color going. Still, I mean, not even close to cook through, obviously, which is great. We want to just let these ride. Just let them continue to develop some color from the grills. We're adding a little bit of that wood smoke flavor to the shrimp at this point. All right, so these are starting to look good, getting translucent, getting a little color around the edges. Keep in mind, you could use any kind of onion here. We're using the red onion. You could use shallots though. You could use a yellow onion if you like. Even the white parts of green onions would work great in this recipe. So do whatever's in your heart. For me, that's red onions today. Now that we've got those where we want them, we're gonna add our garlic and our fresh rosemary. And those just need about a minute to cook the raw out of the garlic. At the same time, we could go ahead and add a little bit of seasoning. So we're coming back in with the Holy Voodoo. Maybe half a teaspoon or so. Also gonna hit it with some paprika, smoked paprika. 1/4 to half teaspoon of that. And then, depending on how spicy you like stuff, some cayenne. We'll say a 1/4 teaspoon on that. Let a little dry spice in a hot skillet starts to really waken up all those aromas right away. So now we're gonna start adding some liquids. I'm gonna come in with about a 1/4 cup of Worcestershire sauce. And this is kind of a key ingredient when you're doing that Louisiana style barbecue shrimp sauce. In addition to that, I'm gonna add the juice of 1 lemon. Catch some seeds there. And honestly, let's just throw the whole lemon in there, because as that peel warms up, it's also going to release a lot of aroma. We'll fish it out of there before we're done. Now we also got to have a little bit of hot sauce. Again, it's totally up to you what you like the heat level at, but I also like the vinegar kick from the Killer Hogs hot sauce. Probably about a tablespoon of that in there. I'm gonna bring the heat up to about medium-high now, because we're also going to add some beer. So we're just using a pale ale today. This is actually a Georgia beer from Sweetwater. If you got a Louisiana beer on hand, that'd probably go even better. And we'll go for about 1 cup of beer here in our sauce. If you're doing your math, that leaves about 1/3 of a beer for you to sip on. All right, getting some great Maillard reaction going on, a little caramelization with that rub. Oh, beautiful. So we're gonna flip this, again, leaving the lid open so we don't overcook, let get a little char on the bottom. All right, these shrimp are looking great now. If we check this out, we've got good color on the outside, not totally opaque all the way to the center yet, which means they're really close to done, but not all the way there. At the same time, and if we've timed this right, our beers come up to a simmer. This is gonna start to reduce, and we're gonna finish our shrimp right here in the sauce. So we let the beer reduce by about half. You can see how this sauce is thickening. At this point, we can throw in the shrimp without worrying about overcooking them, because we're getting close to the end of the process here. Kind of get those nestled in there in that sauce. At this point, we're gonna finish this off with some heavy cream, and immediately I'm gonna shut off the heat. So the heavy cream starts to cool this down, and then to finish the sauce, we're just gonna mount some butter in here. So we're just gonna sit here. This is really boring, but it is what it is to make a delicious sauce. Start stirring that butter until it melts, and when that pat of butter melts, you add the next one. You need just a touch more heat. We can go over low, but you don't wanna boil it at this point. By melting this cold butter into this sauce, we're kind of creating a bit of an emulsion that makes the sauce really creamy. And if it breaks, it's still gonna taste great, but the mouthfeel of that butter emulsified into that sauce, it's just like velvet. God, this sauce just right where it needs to be. We've got one pat of butter left to get to a whole stick of butter. And I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I already picked a shrimp out. It's incredibly good. Just the right amount of spice, great mouthfeel, tangy, savory, delicious. This is one of those dishes that's best to serve piping hot as soon as it's done. Now those grits have been sitting in the Dutch oven, so they're still holding their heat. They're doing a great job. Our sauce is right where we want it to be, so before we lose any of the magic there, let's put it all together. So we'll go down first with the grits. Nice big base of grits. Texture's just right on the money there. Then of course we gotta get our shrimp on top and a good amount of that sauce. As that sauce mixes into the grits, it becomes a whole new animal. I'm gonna get fancy. Check this out. Pop those up, give them a little vertical. People eat with their eyes first, right? Nothing wrong with making it look pretty. Finish it off here with a little pop of parsley right over the top. Beautiful. Look at that. Happy Mardi Gras to me. Oh my gosh. That's just creamy, delicious. Just the right amount of char, because we kissed those shrimp with the char on the grill. The heat level could go a little higher for me, but as Justin says behind the camera, that's why we put hot sauce on the table. I think this is great for everyone. And as that sauce mixes into those grits, it's like a second meal. A lot of times with the finished dish, there's something that pops out to you that's like, that's what makes the dish. It doesn't exist here because everything is so stinking good. It's really a team effort with the shrimp and grits. You could eat either one of these all day long, I feel like. And I think that's one of the things that makes this such a fantastic dish. Thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to check out allthingsbbq.com for all of the products featured in today's video. If you enjoyed the recipe, hit that subscribe button. And if you have any questions or comments or there's anything you'd like to see me cook, let me know in the comment section down below. And let's be good to one another. For more recipes, tips, and techniques, head over to allthingsbbq.com/thesauce. All things barbecue, where barbecue legends are made.